The neon lights of the bustling market square flickered as a steady stream of humans and aliens made their way through the crowded streets of New Terra City. It was here, in the heart of this vibrant metropolis, that Mia's world began to spin out of control. Mia, a young human girl with unruly brown hair and eyes that shone with intelligence, weaved her way through the narrow alleyways, clutching a small data pad to her chest as if it were a life raft. She had to reach the Dragon Chief's office before he left for his evening patrols. The city needed him, and she needed help. A sudden burst of static on her comm unit snapped Mia's attention back from her frantic mental checklist. "Mia, I've got eyes on you," came a voice over the line, sharp and urgent. She looked up to see a figure cutting through the crowd, a tall woman with scales shimmering in hues of green and blue under the artificial light. "Agent Sylva," Mia began, but was interrupted by a scream. A small alien child with large wings and a head full of frizzy hair had fallen into the rushing stream that ran beneath the elevated market stalls. Without hesitation, Mia's gaze darted back to the edge, her heart pounding as she saw Agent Sylva leap into action. Mia watched in horror and awe as Sylva, moving with incredible speed, caught the child midair just before it hit the water. Her scales glinted as she landed gracefully beside a shocked crowd, returning the struggling child to its mother. The dragon woman straightened up, her expression shifting from urgency to a concerned gaze directed towards Mia. "That's why we're here," Sylva said quietly into the calm, her tone cutting through the chaos. "She needs help, and fast." Mia barely registered the exchange as Sylva handed off the child and swiftly approached her. Her steps were deliberate, her presence commanding even in such a crowded market. Mia felt a mix of fear and wonder. This was the Dragon Chief's second-in-command, known throughout the galaxy for her combat skills and strategic mind. "Agent Sylva," Mia started, but Sylva raised a hand. "Not here," she snapped, already leading Mia through the throngs towards an empty side alley. The walls were lined with posters advertising space travel to distant stars and planets, the future hanging in front of them like a shimmering veil. "You have under 5 minutes before the chief leaves his office." Mia nodded, her heart pounding as they ducked into the alley. Her mind raced. This was it, the moment that would determine if New Terra City could be saved from the impending disaster she foresaw. The Dragon Chief had to hear her. She couldn't let this chance slip away. "Tell me what you need," Sylva said, her voice sharp but not unkind. Mia knew the urgency in the agent's eyes mirrored the panic inside her own. With a deep breath, Mia outlined her request briefly, eyes darting nervously around them as if expecting an ambush at any moment. "I need to speak with the Dragon Chief. It's about a threat," she stammered, hoping Sylva could see the urgency in her words and actions. "It's urgent." Sylva's gaze sharpened further. She nodded once, pulling out a small device from her utility belt, a compact comms device that looked to be fashioned from dragon scales. Activating it, she sent a hasty message while Mia watched, heart hammering. "His office is on the main level," Sylva said as she put away the device. "But he's leaving in 2 minutes." Mia nodded, determination setting in. She had less than a minute to make this happen. Her hands trembled slightly, but she forced herself to move forward, following Sylva towards an emergency exit leading to the Dragon Chief's office area. As they approached the double doors of the Dragon Chief's office, Mia could see a dragon figure silhouetted against the lights inside, a sight both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized this was her moment of truth. She had to push past any fears and make her case. "He's already gone," Sylva muttered, peering through a window panel. Mia's stomach plummeted. There would be no direct meeting now. But then Sylva pointed at the small intercom beside the door. "The comm system is still active. Speak quickly." Mia stepped up to the intercom and pressed the button, her voice steady yet anxious. "Dragon Chief Eyes is Mia." From before she could finish, the intercom crackled to life with a deep, rumbling voice. "State your name and business." The Dragon Chief interrupted her, his tone authoritative and impatient. "Mia here. I need to speak with you about an urgent matter involving the city's safety," Mia blurted out, her desperation clear. "It's critical." The Dragon Chief's voice cut through again, a low growl filled with irritation. "Explain yourself in 50 words or less," he commanded, his tone leaving no room for hesitation. Mia blinked, stunned by the abruptness of his command. She drew a deep breath, her mind racing to condense her request into those 50 words. She had to convey him quickly. "I must speak with you urgently regarding an imminent threat to New Terra City," she said as succinctly as possible, her voice steady but urgent. "This is the Dragon Chief's jurisdiction." There was a pause on the other end, a long, silent moment that stretched like a taut wire ready to snap at any second. "State your fee," the Dragon Chief finally growled out through the intercom. Mia paused, her mind racing. She had heard the rumors about how the Dragon Chief handled his clients no matter who they were. Everyone paid for his services. The fees ranged wildly from priceless artifacts to a simple coin toss. Mia's only asset was the datapad in her hand, and whatever she could barter with it. Yet, something told her that what she had was exactly what the Dragon Chief wanted. 25 cents, she said, her voice steady but trembling slightly. She fished out a small, tarnished quarter from her pocket, the only coin she had, and held it up to the camera lens of the intercom for him to see. 25 cents, the Dragon Chief echoed back through the static, his voice low and contemplative, as if he were weighing her request against the cost of the universe itself. The screen flickered, then suddenly brightened with a holographic image of the Dragon Chief. A towering dragon, like being with eyes that seemed to see into the soul. His expression shifted from annoyance to curiosity, his scales reflecting light in iridescent patterns. He leaned forward, his gaze sharp and piercing. "A quarter? You wish me to handle your matter for 25 cents? Mia nodded vigorously, her eyes wide with an unspoken plea in them. "Yes, that's all I have." The Dragon Chief scrutinized her through the lens, a slow smirk curling at the corners of his scaled lips. He reached forward and placed a similar quarter onto the intercom screen, nodding once to acknowledge their agreement. "Agreed," he rumbled, his voice resonating with an air of finality and ancient wisdom. "State your proposal." Mia inhaled deeply, her hands clenching around the datapad. She had one chance. This was it. With a sense of determination, and perhaps a touch of madness, she began to explain her proposition, her words echoing through the city market square like a whispered warning. "This is about a technological anomaly," Mia said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "A threat that could devastate our city if not addressed immediately." The Dragon Chief listened silently, his eyes narrowing as the gravity of her words sank in. He leaned back slightly, tapping a finger thoughtfully against the metal surface of his desk. Sylva watched from beside Mia, her expression tense. She knew the stakes were high. If the Dragon Chief decided to reject Mia's proposition, the chances of salvaging the situation would be slim to none. Her eyes flickered back and forth between Mia and the dragon figure, gauging the chief's reaction. As Mia continued to outline her proposal, the dragon chief's expression hardened. He seemed unimpressed, his gaze turning skeptical as she spoke. Yet, there was an undercurrent of something else, perhaps curiosity, or a hint of respect for someone who would wager so little in such a big game. The anomaly is linked to an experimental AI system, Mia continued, her voice now infused with a sense of urgency. If the datapad contains accurate information and it points to a catastrophic failure. The dragon chief's eyes flashed, his scales rippling slightly as if reacting to her words. He reached out and took the datapad from Mia's trembling hands, his movements swift yet precise. As he held it up to the screen, his expression shifted again, a mix of intrigue and concern. "Show me," he commanded, scrolling through the data with a practiced ease that hinted at countless similar scenarios handled before. Mia watched in awe as the dragon chief's eyes traced over each line of code, his mind working through the implications. Sylva stood by, her presence imposing yet silent, a reminder of the gravity of Mia's request. "Confirmed," the dragon chief rumbled after a moment. "There is indeed a severe threat. You have earned this favor, human." Mia felt a wave of relief wash over her, followed quickly by a surge of adrenaline. The dragon chief had accepted her offer and was now prepared to take action. The relief was short-lived as the dragon figure leaned forward once more, his expression sharp. "However," he growled, his voice cutting through the air like a blade, "you have proven yourself today. I will not accept 25 cents for such critical information." Mia's heart clenched at the thought of being unable to fulfill her promise. I understand. What then?" The dragon chief leaned back, crossing his scaled arms over his chest. His eyes gleamed with an unreadable light as he gazed directly at Mia through the intercom. "Your debt is clear," he rumbled. "The next time we meet, it will be on my terms." His gaze flickered to Sylva standing beside her, and then back to Mia. For now, you have earned your 25 cents. With that, the screen flickered off, leaving Mia and Sylva staring at each other in stunned silence. The dragon chief's message had come with a weighty promising a debt yet to be paid. Sylva turned to Mia, her eyes sharp as she assessed the situation. "We need to move quickly," she said, her tone leaving no room for delay. "He's given us time, but the clock is ticking." Mia nodded, her mind racing with the implications of what had just transpired. She had to trust that she had made the right decision, that this was enough to secure the city's future and save countless lives. "We need to get back to my place," Mia said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "There's more I need to show him." Sylva nodded, a look of grim determination in her eyes. "Let's go," she said, already moving towards the exit. She paused briefly, turning back to face Mia. "But remember, this isn't over yet." Mia swallowed hard, nodding firmly, as they set off down the alley, the neon lights casting shadows that seemed to pulse with urgency around them. The city waited. It was up to her and Sylva to see if they could secure its future. The intercom had been shut off, but its impact lingered. Mia's mind swirled with possibilities and dangers as she prepared for what would come next. She knew that this was just the beginning, and that the dragon chief was about to learn that 25 cents was only the start of something far greater. As they emerged back into the market square, Mia felt a newfound resolve burning in her chest. The city needed her, and she would not let them down. The future hung in the balance, and she intended to be the one to tip it in their favor. But for now, the task was simple yet daunting: reach her home, retrieve more data, and present it to the Dragon Chief before time ran out. With each step, Mia's determination hardened, her resolve sharpening like a blade ready for battle. She had a city to save, and the future of New Terra rested on the next move. The market square faded behind them as they made their way through the bustling streets once more, but the air was electric with urgency. Sylva led the way, her movements swift and efficient, while Mia followed close behind, her mind racing with thoughts and plans. The Dragon Chief's acceptance had set in motion a chain of events that could either save or doom their city, and every second counted. As they turned another corner, Mia caught sight of a familiar sight: a towering structure of glass and steel that housed the city's main data center. It was there, in those vast halls filled with hums of machinery and screens glowing with information, that she knew more answers lay hidden. The Dragon Chief would need this data to understand the true scope of the threat. "Sylva, stop," Mia suddenly said, her voice firm but anxious as they approached the entrance to the data center. Her eyes were locked on a small side door, its metal surface slightly battered and overlooked by the bustling crowds around them. This was their way, indirect and unassuming, perfect for what they needed. Sylva paused, her gaze flickering to the side door before narrowing slightly in understanding. "One way in," she acknowledged quietly, already moving towards it. Her fingers expertly picked at the lock, the mechanism clicking open with a soft sound that was barely audible over the distant hum of the city. As the door swung inward, revealing a dimly lit stairwell leading down to the lower levels of the data center, Mia felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. The Dragon Chief would need this information. They had to act quickly. Her fingers clenched around her data pad as she stepped forward into the shadows, Sylva close behind. The air was thick with the scent of metal and electricity, the hum of computer systems echoing through the enclosed space. Mia's pace quickened as they descended the stairs, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The light at the bottom of the stairs grew brighter, revealing a corridor lined with blinking monitors and cables snaking across the floor. In the dim light, Sylva nodded towards an intersection further ahead. "This way," she said softly, leading Mia into the heart of the data center. As they moved through the maze-like structure, Mia's mind raced. The Dragon Chief's acceptance had been unexpected, but welcomed now. They needed to secure more data, information that would cement his involvement in stopping the looming disaster. Her heart pounded as they approached one of the main server rooms. Sure lay the keys to understanding and averting the threat. But just as they reached the door leading into this crucial space, Mia felt a chill run down her spine. A figure stood at the far end of the corridor, their silhouette outlined by the light emanating from the server room beyond. An unknown intruder, eyes narrowing as they saw Sylva and Mia approach. "Stop," the voice commanded, chilling in its tone. Mia's heart skipped a beat. This was not part of her plan. The situation had suddenly turned dangerous, and she needed to act fast. Her eyes darted around, seeking an escape route, but there were none obvious. Sylva's hand tightened on hers, knew that backing away wasn't an option. The figure in the shadows took a step closer, their presence imposing and foreboding. Mia could feel the tension crackling in the air. This person knew exactly who they were and why they were here. "Who are you?" Mia asked, her voice steady despite the fear that tightened her throat. She clutched the data pad tightly, ready to defend it if needed. The figure's eyes narrowed further. "You have interfered," they growled. "Stepping into this realm comes with a price." Sylva stepped forward slightly, her eyes fierce and unyielding. "We are here on behalf of the Dragon Chief," she said, voice low but firm. "Your interference is unwelcome." Mia's mind raced. They needed to turn this around, find a way out that didn't escalate into violence. She glanced at Sylva, hoping for a sign of what to do next, but the figure in the shadows took another step forward, their presence overwhelming. "A price," they repeated, voice dripping with menace. "What will you offer?" Mia's heart raced. She couldn't let this get in the way of her goal. The Dragon Chief needed the information in her data pad to understand the threat fully, and this person seemed to know exactly what was at stake. With a sudden clarity, Mia stepped forward, holding out the data pad towards the figure. "This," she said firmly, voice unwavering despite the fear that gripped her heart. "It's worth more than any price you could ask." The figure's eyes flitted to the data pad in her hand, their gaze lingering on it, as if weighing its value. For a moment, time seemed to stand still, weight of the city's fate resting on this small device. "Very well," the figure finally said, voice grudging but acknowledging. "Proceed." Mia felt a wave of relief mixed with caution as they stepped past the unknown figure into the server room beyond. Sylva moved beside her, both women aware that they had narrowly avoided a confrontation, though the tension remained thick in the air around them. Inside the server room, rows of glowing monitors filled with data and code stretched out before them. Mia's fingers moved swiftly over her data pad, transferring critical information to the main system data. The Dragon Chief would need to fully comprehend the threat. As she worked, Sylva stood. Mia's fingers moved swiftly over her data pad, transferring critical information to the main system data. The Dragon Chief would need to fully comprehend the threat. Each piece of code she typed felt like another brick in a fortress being built around their base. She had spent hours combing through satellite feeds and military communications from their reconnaissance drones, piecing together a picture of the enemy's movements. The Dragon Chief had ordered Mia to continue her analysis while he coordinated with his kin for a counterattack. Beside her, Jack stirred slightly. He had been out cold since the last skirmish, his body having pushed too far beyond its limits. Mia gently nudged him awake. "Jax, we need to talk." He blinked slowly, his eyes focusing on her. "What is it?" "Jax, I've been digging deeper into our enemy's structure. They are not just attacking us, they are trying to destabilize the entire region." His jaw clenched. "This changes everything. We need to shift our strategy." Mia nodded, her mind racing. "I noticed something else too. The data suggests there are infiltrators in our ranks, people who are feeding information back to the enemy about our positions and plans." Jack's eyes widened. "That's dangerous. They are trying to divide us, break our resolve," Mia said grimly. "Then we need to identify them," Jax replied, his tone resolute. "But how do we know who to trust?" Mia paused, her expression troubled. She had long suspected someone, but the evidence hadn't been clear cut until now. "I think I might have an idea." The two slipped away into the command center's darkest corners to discuss Mia's theory in hushed tones. As they talked, Mia relayed the specific patterns and anomalies she had found. Jax listened intently, his fingers tapping a steady rhythm on the table. "We need to act fast," Jax said. "We can't afford any more leaks." "We'll have to be careful," Mia warned. "If this goes wrong, it could crush our morale." "Then we do it right," Jax declared, his voice firm. "Tonight we set a trap. We'll isolate the suspected traitors and corner them into revealing their allegiances." Mia's heart pounded as they began to put together the details of their plan. They would have only one chance to catch the infiltrators red-handed. Back in the command center, tension crackled through the air like static. The constant hum of technology mixed with the subdued murmurs of soldiers plotting their next move. Mia and Jax kept their plans secret from all but a handful of trusted allies, knowing that exposure could spell disaster. When night fell, they moved cautiously. Mia's expertise with technology helped them navigate the intricate security systems undetected. They gathered evidence discreetly, planting listening devices and setting up surveillance feeds in strategic locations. It was a game of shadows, each step calculated to avoid detection by the enemy. As dawn approached, their efforts began to pay off. One by one, they identified several individuals who had been feeding information to the enemy. Mia's heart sank with each confirmation. It was all too clear that there were traitors among them. The day before the final confrontation arrived, Mia and Jax briefed a small group of loyal soldiers on their findings. The room buzzed with suppressed anxiety and determination. Mia laid out the evidence, showing how each piece fit together like a puzzle. The traitors had been feeding critical information to the enemy about supply lines and troop movements, all the while pretending to be part of the resistance. "We need to strike now," Jax said, his voice low and steady. Mia nodded. "Tonight, we'll isolate them, confront them in front of everyone. It's the only way to clear things up." The soldiers nodded grimly. They knew the risks, but there was no other choice. As they prepared, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that this could be the moment their rebellion turned. When the sun dipped below the horizon, Mia and Jax led a small team into action. Stealth was key. They moved silently through the shadows, taking down each traitor one by one. It was brutal work, but necessary. The resistance's survival hinged on exposing these betrayers before it was too late. By the time dawn arrived, their actions had sent shockwaves through the base. Soldiers who had once trusted each other now eyed one another warily, wondering who might be next to fall under suspicion. Mia and Jax's efforts had uncovered more than just a few traitors. They had exposed a deeper network of spies embedded within their ranks. The Dragon Chief was informed immediately. He appeared in the command center, his presence commanding and imposing. When Mia laid out the evidence before him, he stared at her with a mix of disbelief and admiration. "You have done well," he said, his voice deep and gravelly. "But this is only the beginning." Mia swallowed hard, her nerves tightening. She felt the weight of what they had uncovered pressing down on her shoulders. This was just the start. The real challenge was keeping their people united against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger by the day. As they prepared for the final confrontation, Mia couldn't help but feel the enormity of the task ahead. The Dragon Chief had given them a clear directive: secure the base and prepare for war. But securing the base meant more than just repelling attacks. It meant protecting their people from internal threats that lurked in the shadows. In the days leading up to the battle, Mia found herself increasingly drawn to the Dragon Chief. Their shared sense of urgency and purpose created a bond that was both complex and intense. He relied on her technical skills and strategic thinking, while she admired his strength and leadership. Their interactions were tinged with a growing mutual respect and understanding. "You must stay vigilant," he warned her one evening as they stood side by side in the command center, watching over their people. "I will," Mia replied, her voice steady but her heart pounding. "And so will you." He nodded, his eyes reflecting a mix of determination and something deeper. Together, the days flew by in a blur of preparation and tension. Mia worked tirelessly, alongside Jax and the Dragon Chief, laying the groundwork for their assault on the enemy's stronghold. They coordinated with various resistance groups across the region, ensuring they had a united front against their oppressors. Just as the final battle was set to begin, Mia received an unexpected message from one of her sources outside the base. It indicated that a larger, more insidious threat loomed beyond their immediate concerns, a force far greater than the enemy's current strategy. Heart racing, Mia rushed to share this new development with the Dragon Chief and Jax. As she described the potential danger, the atmosphere in the command center shifted from tension to grim realization. "We need to rethink our entire plan," Jax said, his voice heavy. "If this is true, we're facing something far worse." The Dragon Chief's gaze hardened as he processed the information. "We must confront both threats head on. We cannot afford to lose sight of either." Mia nodded, her mind whirring with possibilities. This new twist could change everything. They needed to act swiftly and with precision to avoid disaster. With the final battle on the horizon and this new revelation hanging over them, Mia's resolve hardened. She knew they were facing a choice: either succumb to fear or embrace uncertainty and fight with every ounce of courage at their disposal. The decision lay clear before them. They would stand together against overwhelming odds. As the dawn of the climactic battle approached, Mia felt a surge of determination. Alongside the Dragon Chief and Jax, she stood ready for whatever came next, knowing that their unity was their greatest strength. But little did they know, an even greater challenge lay ahead, one that would test the very bonds they had forged in the darkest of times. The day of the final confrontation arrived with a relentless intensity. Mia watched from a vantage point on the command center's edge as waves of enemy troops closed in around their base. The air was thick with tension and anticipation. Everyone knew this moment would determine their fate. But just as they were about to engage, an unexpected figure emerged from the shadows. To Mia's astonishment, it was one of the Dragon Chief's Consommion she had come to trust deeply over the course of their shared struggle. Yet, something seemed off about her presence. Her eyes darted nervously between Mia and the approaching enemy forces. Mia rushed forward, confusion etched on her face. "What are you doing here?" The dragon woman hesitated, her expression flickering with conflicting emotions. I needed to warn you." "Warn us of what?" Mia pressed, her heart pounding. Before she could answer, a sudden explosion rocked the base. The ground trembled violently as enemy artillery began raining down on them from all sides. Mia's heart sank. This was not a mere surprise attack, but a coordinated assault aimed at overwhelming their defenses. The dragon woman stepped forward, her voice urgent. "The infiltrators. They've been working with the enemy all along." Mia's world spun. Everything she had learned and worked towards, every sacrifice, every battle, it was all based on a lie. She turned to the Dragon Chief, who stood beside her, his expression guarded. "You knew?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He met her gaze steadily, his eyes reflecting a mix of sorrow and determination. "Not until now. This is bigger than us, Mia." As the battle raged on, Mia found herself caught between duty and disbelief. The dragon woman continued to reveal more secrets, each one unraveling the fabric of their united front. It became clear that the enemy had been playing a long game, using infiltrators within their ranks to sow discord and weaken them from within. Amidst the chaos, Mia, and Jax worked tirelessly to hold their ground. They coordinated with the remaining loyal soldiers, forming a desperate defense against the onslaught. But as they fought, the truth of their betrayal weighed heavily on Mia's heart. When the battle finally ended in a tense truce, Mia stood amidst the ruins of their base, her mind reeling. The dragon chief approached, his expression grim. "We need to regroup, rethink our strategy," he said, his voice resolute despite the devastation around them. Mia nodded, her eyes tracing the faces of those who had fought alongside her friends, allies, and now known betrayers. She felt a deep sense of loss and betrayal, yet she knew they had to adapt or be crushed. As they began the arduous process of rebuilding and reorganizing, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that their struggle was far from over. The enemy's true face had just revealed itself, and it promised a darkness deeper than any shadow. The revelation of betrayal among their ranks left Mia with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear: their path forward would be fraught with danger, uncertainty, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Mia felt the weight of the truth settling heavily in her chest as she stared at the flickering flames of the campfire, her comrades' faces a blur around her. The air was thick with tension, each breath heavy and laden with unspoken words. Beside her, Rourke's hands twitched restlessly as he clenched his fists, muscles straining as if he were holding back from leaping into action. "We need to regroup," Mia said quietly, turning to face the group. "We can't act rashly. Our enemy is cunning and well prepared." The others nodded in agreement, their eyes reflecting the same resolve and desperation that burned inside her. "First things first," Rourke interjected. "We'll have to secure this place. We need to know who we can trust." Mia glanced around at each of them: Carl, the seasoned strategist; Lena, the sharp-tongued scout; and Alexei, the brute force they could rely on, but their faces were inscrutable mirrors of indecision. "We should also alert our contacts," Lena suggested. "We don't want anyone else to get caught off guard." "Agreed," Carl chimed in, "but we have to be careful about who we share this information with. Our mole knows us better than anyone. They likely know our contacts too." Rourke nodded grimly, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the shadows around them. "All right, Mia, what's the plan? We're sitting ducks here." Mia's mind raced, searching for a way forward that wouldn't leave them vulnerable. She thought about the mission, the objectives they were supposed to achieve, and now everything was different. Her priority had shifted from completing the assignment to uncovering the traitor and ensuring their safety. "We'll divide into two teams," Mia decided. "One will be responsible for securing this location, while the other will handle the outreach. Rourke, you take Lena with you to inform our trusted sources discreetly. Carl, you and I will stay here and reinforce our defenses." Rourke and Lena left the campsite under the cover of darkness, their movements swift and silent as they melted into the night. Mia watched them go, a sense of unease gnawing at her insides. She turned to Carl, who was already setting up traps around the perimeter. "Carl," she began, "we need to be careful. The mole knows our habits, our language, everything that makes us who we are." Carl nodded, his gaze never wavering from his task. "You're right. We'll have to approach this blindfolded, if you know what I mean. Assume everyone is a suspect until proven otherwise." "Exactly," Mia said, her voice steady but cold. "We'll start with a sweep of the area, check every nook and cranny, question every person we encounter." They began their meticulous investigation, moving slowly and with great caution. Mia's mind buzzed with scenarios for each shadow, Every whisper felt like a clue. Every interaction was fraught with potential betrayal. Hours later, as dawn crept over the horizon, they had made little progress. The campsite remained secure, but the mole still eluded them. Mia sat down, fatigue settling into her bones. "We need to think outside the box," she murmured, more to herself than to Carl. "There must be something we're missing." Carl's eyes flickered with a new idea. "Mia, what if we play into their hands? Maybe there's an angle we haven't considered yet. Something the mole underestimated us on." Mia's heart quickened at the possibility. "You mean pretend to fall for whatever trap they've set up?" "Exactly," Carl said, his voice filled with renewed energy. "If we can predict what our enemy is thinking, perhaps we can turn the tables on them." The strategy felt risky, but Mia saw the merit in it. It was time to embrace the uncertainty and use it to their advantage. They needed to make the mole reveal themselves, force them into a mistake. With new determination, Mia and Carl set out to implement their plan. Each step they took was calculated, each word measured. They played the game, but with a twist. They were the ones pulling the strings now. As the day progressed, tensions simmered beneath the surface of their calm facade. The mole would move, and they would counter. It was a dance of shadows and light, each move scrutinized for hidden meaning. Late into the evening, Mia found herself face to face with an unexpected visitor, a messenger from a rival faction who claimed to have crucial information about their mission. At first, suspicion clouded her judgment, but then she remembered Carl's suggestion. This was their chance to catch their enemy off guard. "I'll take care of this," Mia said, nodding at Carl. "Stay alert." She met the messenger in a secluded area, her instincts on high alert. The man spoke of a secret meeting point where a critical piece of technology could be acquired, a key asset they needed. It was too good to be true, yet Mia's training told her to follow through. "Trust no one," Carl's words echoed in her mind as she returned to the campsite. "But sometimes the best way to catch a thief is to play the game of thievery." She relayed the information to Carl and the rest of their team, cautioning them about the risk, but also the potential reward. "We'll need to move quickly," Mia said, "and be vigilantes is exactly what our mole would want us to do. But if we're careful, maybe we can turn this into a trap for them." With renewed hope and a sense of purpose, they prepared for the next phase of their mission. The night was dark and filled with possibilities. Their path forward was uncertain, but Mia was determined to navigate it with clarity and resolve. As they set out under the cover of darkness towards the secret meeting point, Mia knew that every step could be a trap or an opportunity. The game had changed, and now they were playing by a new set of rules. She looked around at her team, their faces set in determination and fear, but above all, in a fierce commitment to uncovering the truth. She looked around at her team, their faces set in determination and fear, but above all, in a fierce commitment to uncovering the truth. The alien woman, known only as Lyra, stood beside them, her presence a mix of otherworldly beauty and unyielding resolve. As the leader of this small group of rebels, she had brought them together with a singular purpose: to unravel the mystery behind the disappearance of their home planet's children and expose the truth about their captors. Their journey had been perilous and fraught with danger, but Lyra's influence kept the team united, her vulnerability often shining through in moments of quiet reflection. She had read parts of her past, revealing a heart that was as scarred by the universe's cruelty as it was bound by an unbreakable spirit. Her words were few, but her actions spoke volumes, each one a testament to her undying devotion to justice and freedom. As they entered the final phase of their mission, the tension in the air was palpable. The team knew that this would be the moment when everything would come to light or be lost forever. Lyra had prepared them for the worst, but kept a tight lid on hope, understanding that it would be what kept them going in the darkest hours. The group stepped into a cavernous room filled with alien tech, pulsating with eerie energy and silence. Each member's heart raced as they approached the central console, knowing it held the answers they saw. Lyra moved to the front, her eyes scanning the interface, a soft whisper escaping her lips as she made out the first line of data. "Here we are," she murmured softly, more to herself than to her companions. Her fingers flew over the controls, initiating a sequence that would reveal the truth behind the kidnappings. A holographic display flickered to life above the console, showing images of their lost children, their innocence captured in moments of joy and innocence before their worlds turned upside down. The team was silent, their breaths catching in their throats as they watched the images. Lyra's gaze was fixed on the screen, a sense of loss and determination warring within her. The data began to scroll, showing patterns of abduction, times and dates, coordinates that led to an unknown location. They were piecing together the puzzle of their fate. As the final pieces clicked into place, a single revelation shattered the room's silence. The mastermind behind the kidnappings was not just any enemy, but a figure from Lyra's past, a being of incredible power and cunning, who had manipulated entire civilizations for personal gain. The knowledge hit Lyra like a storm, her body tensing as she processed this monumental discovery. The team huddled around her, their faces pale but resolute. They knew the implications of what they had uncovered, the scale of the operation, the resources required, and the sheer audacity of their nemesis. Lyra felt the weight of leadership pressing down on her, the burden of knowing the enemy's identity, adding another layer of complexity to their mission. "I won't let them win," she declared, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "We have this information now, and it's our responsibility to use it." She turned to her team, her eyes locking with each one, conveying a shared sense of resolve and determination. The vulnerability in her expression was clear, yet it only served to strengthen their resolve. The group nodded silently, understanding the gravity of their task. They would need every ounce of courage and skill to confront what lay ahead. Lyra led them to the exit of the cavernous room, her steps resolute but cautious. As they stepped out into the corridor beyond, a sense of foreboding settled over them. They were prepared for battle, for conflict, but the emotional toll of their discovery had left them vulnerable. Lyra felt the weight of this vulnerability acutely, knowing that their path forward would require not just physical strength, but the fortitude to face truths they might rather avoid. As they approached a final confrontation, the air buzzed with tension. Lyra's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the stakes. They reached a large door at the end of the corridor, behind which lay their nemesis and the answers to their questions. The team exchanged a look, their faces a mix of fear and resolve. Lyra stepped forward, placing a hand on the door panel. She hesitated for a moment, her thoughts racing. The knowledge she had gained was overwhelming, yet it fueled her with an iron will to fight. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before pressing the activation sequence. The door hissed open, revealing a grand chamber adorned with alien artifacts and symbols of power. In the center stood their nemesis, a figure who loomed tall and menacing, surrounded by a halo of energy. Lyra's eyes locked onto this being, her heart a storm of emotions. The nemesis turned to face her, a twisted smile spreading across its face. It spoke in a voice that sent shivers down the team's spines, revealing the depth of its malice and the purpose behind their captivity. "You have uncovered too much, Lyra," it hissed. Lyra's resolve hardened. She stepped forward, her teammates at her back, forming an unbreakable line against the threat. The confrontation was inevitable, yet she felt a fleeting sense of vulnerability as she faced this formidable opponent. It was in this moment that Lyra realized the true power of her team, their combined strength and resilience. As they prepared for battle, Lyra's gaze shifted to her teammates. Each face held a mix of emotions: fear, determination, and an unshakable belief in the cause. In that instant, she felt a surge of something deeper than mere camaraderie, a connection born of shared struggles and mutual trust. In the heat of battle, Lyra's movements were fluid and precise, her skills honed by years of training and experience. Yet, it was the unexpected support from her teammates that truly defined their victory. One by one, they engaged the nemesis, each action reinforcing their bond as a team. Lyra felt a protective instinct take hold, a desire to shield those who had become her family. As the confrontation reached its climax, the room filled with an electric tension. Lyra's heart raced, the weight of the mission bearing down on her. In a moment of clarity, she stepped forward, her actions driven by a blend of fear and determination. The nemesis lunged at her, but she parried, each movement a testament to her strength and will. The battle was fierce, leaving both sides battered and bruised. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was an unspoken understanding, a mutual respect that transcended the conflict. Lyra's connection with her teammates deepened, a moment of shared vulnerability when fear briefly overtook them all. As the nemesis lay defeated, the room fell silent once more. The team gathered around Lyra, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. In this moment of victory, there was no need for words. The bond they had forged through adversity spoke volumes. Lyra's breath was ragged as she turned to her companions, a soft smile curving her lips. "We did it," she whispered, the weight of their accomplishment settling over her. Yet, amidst the triumph, a sense of loss lingered, countless lives affected, the scars left by this conflict. Her gaze met each member's in turn, a silent acknowledgment of the journey they had shared. The final moments of victory were tinged with the knowledge that their struggle was far from over. The mission had revealed truths that would shape their path forward, and Lyra knew that this was just the beginning of a larger fight for justice and freedom. As they prepared to depart, their next steps uncertain, but their resolve unshaken, Lyra felt a gentle touch on her shoulder. She turned to find one of her teammates, their eyes filled with understanding and compassion. In that moment, a breath, a touch, a look exchanged between them spoke volumes about the bond they shared. The team left the chamber together, the echoes of their battle fading as they stepped into the unknown. Lyra walked ahead, her step steady yet contemplative. The future held countless challenges, but she was no longer alone. The mission had changed everything: Lyra's resolve, her connection with her teammates, and the path they would forge together. As they emerged from the chamber, the final line of their journey etched in the memories of those who stood at its end, Lyra turned to face a new horizon, her heart full of hope and determination. And the word hung in the air, a silent accusation that echoed off the stark white walls of the laboratory. The researchers had turned their backs on each other, retreating into their own worlds of confusion and doubt. Elliot, however, remained rooted to the spot, staring at the terminal where the cryptic message had appeared. His fingers hovered above the keyboard, a reflex action he could not suppress. Each key was a potential solution, a fragment of code that could unravel the mystery they faced. But the more he stared, the more it seemed like the code itself was shifting, morphing into something unrecognizable. "Are you still here, Doctor?" Harper's voice cut through the silence, laced with a tired weariness that belied her usual fervor. Elliot turned slowly, meeting her gaze. "What do we do now, Doctor?" Harper sighed, her shoulders drooping as she leaned against the counter. She crossed her arms tightly around herself, as if warding off an invisible chill. "We start over. We go back to the beginning and re-examine every single detail. This isn't our only option." "But what if it is?" Elliot asked quietly, his voice barely a whisper. The thought of having exhausted all possible avenues was daunting, nearly paralyzing. "Then we find another one, Doctor," Harper replied resolutely. "There's always another way, Elliot. We just haven't found it yet." Her unwavering belief in the possibility of an alternative sparked something within him, a flicker of hope that hadn't been there moments ago. It was a fragile flame, but it burned bright enough to illuminate the path forward. The two researchers gathered their scattered thoughts and began retracing their steps through the experiment's early stages. They methodically reviewed every hypothesis, every variable, every piece of data they had collected. With each review, Elliot's mind raced with new questions and theories, each one nudging them closer to the heart of the matter. But as the night wore on, the initial optimism began to wane. The more they dug into their previous findings, the more it became evident that they had missed something crucial, a detail overlooked, a connection unexplored. The weight of this realization pressed heavily upon them both. "We need fresh eyes, Doctor," Harper finally said, breaking the oppressive silence. "Someone outside our own bubble might see something we've been too close to notice." Elliot nodded, understanding the underlying logic. Collaboration with external experts could bring a new perspective, perhaps even uncovering that elusive piece they were missing. But as he pondered this idea, a chilling thought struck him, a reminder of why they had kept their research so closely guarded in the first place. "We can't just open ourselves up like that," Elliot argued, his voice tinged with a reluctant resignation. "We're dealing with something extraordinary here, something that could change everything if it got into the wrong hands." "Doctor," Harper's expression darkened at his words, her thoughts aligning with his concern. The risks were undeniable, yet the stakes were even higher. If they remained alone, they risked becoming so entangled in their own doubts and blind spots that the break through they sought would elude them forever. With a heavy sigh, Doctor, Harper placed a hand on Elliot's shoulder. "Then we'll have to find someone we can trust implicitly," she said softly, her eyes reflecting a blend of determination and sorrow. "Someone who understands the gravity of our situation." Elliot's gaze met hers, and for a moment, the enormity of their task seemed to swell around them, pressing in from all sides. There was no turning back now. They had come too far, confronted too many challenges, to falter at this stage. As the first light of dawn filtered through the laboratory windows, casting long shadows across the room, Elliot and Dr. Harper stood together, united by a shared resolve. Their journey ahead would be fraught with uncertainties and dangers, but the fire within them burned stronger than ever before.